Good evening, everybody. This is Cherri Gregg, and this is Real Talk with Cherri. How y'all doing? It's Tuesday. Well, it's Monday. Let me get the days right. It's Monday. It feels like Tuesday because I've been working a lot of days. I want to give everybody a chance to get into the live. How y'all doing? Shout out to everybody who was at the Brown ShopRite opening today. It was packed, and I was really excited to be there and just so happy for Jeff Brown and the entire Brown family for reopening two of their ShopRite stores in a matter of days after the store suffered millions of dollars in damage because of the looting. So I want to, hey, Kathy, how are you, love? Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me just see who's in here. Thank you. Hey, Mike. How you doing, Stephanie? Hey, CF, thank you guys for being here. Hey, Mo, could y'all do me a favor and tag a friend and share this video? Also, big time money coming in, $112 million. Shout out to Senator Vincent Hughes for coming up with a proposal that he put to Governor Tom Wolf that will get over $100 million to Black and brown businesses that are historically left out. If you own a small business and you have not been able to get access to PPP and other state funding, this is an opportunity for you. Folks like the Business Center and Germantown and stuff like that, they'll be the ones distributing these funds. If I were you, I would contact beach companies. I would contact these organizations right now. Make sure your paperwork is out because that money is going to go fast. A total of $225 million for small businesses. Half of that money, again, will go to Black and brown businesses. Please tag a friend and share this video. We got a really awesome show set up for today. And so I want to say what's up to Marcus, Delilah. How you doing, sweetie? To Kara, everybody. Thank you guys for being here. And thank you to everybody who's been sharing my lives and just, showing crazy support. We have two guests today, and we're going to spend about a half hour with each of them. Our first guest is Frank Meeink. Can't wait for you to meet Frank. He was on Flashpoint a couple times, but I wanted to bring him to you guys live because he's from South Philadelphia. He's transformed his life from being a skinhead, y'all, to now being on the front lines fighting for Black lives. He was just arrested at a Black Lives Matter protest, y'all, just a few days ago. So we'll be talking to him in just a second. So also, shout out to Jordan Harris because Governor Tom Wolf has accepted responsibility and has decided to use his executive power to implement a number of police reforms. There's currently efforts to get those police reforms implemented at the city level. We'll see what happens. I understand it's been teed up, and we'll be talking about that tomorrow. Can't wait to bring that to you. Hey, what's up, CF? How y'all doing? Please tag a friend and share this video. I'm going to wait for a couple more people to get into the live before I bring Frank on. Our second half hour will be with Janine Cook. She is owner of Harriett Bookstore in Fishtown. Y'all know all kinds of craziness was going on in Fishtown over the past few days. So we'll be talking about how she, as a Black woman bookstore owner in that part of the city, how she's been feeling about all that we've been dealing with. And so, so that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Hey, Meredith, how you doing, George? Nice to see you. So tag a friend, share this video, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So I want to bring Frank Meeink in. Now, let me just tell you about Frank. I met him, I guess, a couple years ago at this point. He came on, we did an interview with him, and he talked about his transformation. How do you go from one school of thought when it comes to race to all the way to the other end of the spectrum where you're putting your body on the line in the fight for racial justice? Frank is going to explain that. So I can't wait for him to talk to you. So I'm just going to bring him on in. Frank, welcome to Real Talk with Cherri. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm honored to be on here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and so people are coming into the live. We're going to be talking. Now, Frank is originally from South Philly, was a skinhead during his youth, but you just got arrested at a Black Lives Matter. What happened?
Well, let's just know that like I didn't change yesterday, right? I changed about 30 years ago. I got out
Yeah.
of this. I mean, right before the Oklahoma City bombing, which made me turn into an activist then, but not in like now. Like I've always been for 30 last 30 years, I've been on the good team, right? But um, uh, I've been coaching black kids in hockey for the last 15 years. So I mean, I'm putting my life together to do work and to be of service to others. And so now this part of my life to be services. Um, for the last 30 years of getting out of the neo-Nazis, I've done nothing but look at race and study race. And I always come at it from a racist point of view still with my mind. I could do that as I could think like, why do they think this? And why would they feel that way? Why do they think that they are good in this situation when we know that they are wrong, right? And so I've been doing that for years. And a lot of people have been asking me what I thought. And as I started to see this, how this is all coming together, we got to remember that in the democracy, the police, and this is for real, by using the drug laws, have moved above the citizens in this democracy. That's why we have 2.4 million people in prison right now in this country, far more than anywhere else in the world, times three. Times three. We have 1 in 3 women in the world incarcerated in this country right now, and we're the land that are free, right? So I start to see this, and as this divide starts to happen with these laws that their lobbyists and their unions have pulled them above us in this democracy. This is true. That's what made that divide to 2.4 million people, right? So we need to take away the drug laws right now. That's the punishment that these officers, this is what's going to happen. We have to have this happen. No more drug. Breonna Taylor, the most beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, she was on the front lines fighting Corona. And then the police kicked in her door on a drug warrant. On a drug warrant. We need no more drug warrants in this country. I think the human race will be able to handle this addiction thing. We don't need the police anymore in this situation. It's gotten too.
And I want to pause you, Frank, because I want to take people to, because what we're seeing right now is all the marching.
Right.
What we're seeing right now is all the protesting, the peaceful protesting. It got a little rowdy about a week ago.
Got a little wild.
It got a little rowdy, but I mean, most of the people were peaceful. And you were on the front lines as part of a peaceful protest, but in California.
In LA. And I was with my 16-year-old son. And there's video on Facebook. We were shot. We had our backs. The marchers were going up this one hill in this road, and the police just turned around and just started letting us have it. Like we had our backs. Everyone was headed the other way, right? And so, man, to put my son at that risk. Now, I already lost a son in a car accident, right? Just a couple of years ago, my oldest boy. I'm not going to lose, something happens to him, helicopters are coming out of the sky. That's how I get, I get a little crazy. So
it started peaceful though, but it started peaceful. You called this a spiritual moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then when did it describe the feeling of what it was like? And then when did it turn?
Yeah, well, it's turned back into more of the spiritual. And that's what's great. The last 2 days have been very, very nonviolent and very spiritual. I mean, again, marching with everybody and knowing that you could see when we make a turn on one of the major streets, in Pico or something in LA, and you look back and we're still making the turn a mile back, right? You see people out their windows banging and the horns beeping. And I'm going to tell you, I go up to cops all the time and say, how's it feel to know you woke up asleep, a waking giant? How does it feel, guys? And they all like, we're just one cop. We're just the flavor of the month because everyone's been on Corona. I'm like, you guys ain't listening. Like, we ain't going home this time. Like now that you see the support, because I think the people, like I said before, especially a lot of white people now are starting to realize, like, they got into the life raft and they pulled the ladder up. They did. And you know what? I'm putting it back in, and everyone's putting it back in, so everyone getting this life right together.
And that's the big difference, I think, Frank, is that it's a very multiracial coalition that is happening right now. And why do you think what do you think about this George Floyd video? Or what do you think about this moment made so many people who are not Black say, you know what, I'm going to get on this movement right now?
I think, it was a little bit of the baiting that we took from the right-wing people protesting up in Michigan, right? Because look, they were like, we're the people. And then we were like, hold up, we'll show you we the people. You want, because that was a whole different little group of the anti-mask and the Trumpers who were protesting a couple of weeks ago in the Corona, And I think that was one of the things where we were like, that's not us anymore. We are not those people, right? Trump, he's a very spiritually sick man. and we've let him lead us into a very spiritually sick part. But I'm telling you, the humanity of the American people to pull us all back together. And I mean, you were talking earlier, look, we pull everyone back on this life raft together. We pull the police down a little bit from their little pedestals. We become enlightened.
Mm-hmm.
We do. We can do this, you know? We can do this.
You feel like the reason why so many white people specifically started coming out is because they wanted to show that they were not what was being shown at other protests.
Absolutely. It was just people were embarrassed, and I hope they are, because I was embarrassed. And I think that a lot of people just want, when you see a man who is begging for his life, begging, he was begging. He asked for his mom. He asked for his mom, and that man did not take his knee off that man's neck.
Yeah,
we're done. We are done, and we're not mad at we're mad at the officer, but it's what we need to be done is we need for what was the power of that officer to do that is to be taken away. Because when people try to help, other officers push them away. And if they would have done anything, they would have been thrown to the ground, and they would have been strangled, and they would have been booked for resisting arrest. You know, and that's what I mean. Look, we need to stop this war on drugs immediately, because this war on drugs is what leads to this. It is the kicking in of our doors. It is the killing of Breonna Taylor.
Yeah, because she was, and I mean, that Breonna Taylor situation, she did not get as much. Oh, I know, Frank, it's very, when you think about it, it is very emotional. I know I can't even think about these videos, and then you had to throw Ahmaud Arbery on there. And it's just a lot. And I think for a lot of people, they're traumatized by these in secession. And then you have the pandemic, where it's highlighting racial disparities. And we just happen to be home too. Because a lot of people were home and you were able to participate. And so what was it like out there with all these folks of all these different races for you as a white guy, participating and holding up signs that say Black Lives Matter?
Right. Yeah. As a white guy, and I think I have a little bit of a difference because I have been fighting for civil rights and have been working in the, you know, so I don't, but I think that what white people have to remember is you don't always have to have white guilt as long as you can admit that there's white privilege. You don't always have to carry that guilt, because if you admit that there's white privilege, then you can help stop it. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's what we needed to do. And that's what's going to be forced to happen, is that we are going to, you know, and I think that white people are finally look, in about 200 to 300 years from now, we are going to be such a mix of people. You know, we're all going to look like Halle Berry and Derek Jeter. We're all going to be just gorgeous Americans walking around, not knowing what race we are, you know, just this colored skin that's just beautiful and olive. And we're going to be beautiful and be enlightened people, and we can do this. But we need to get the police out of the way right now, because they have this tool that helps separate us continuously. And that is that war on drugs. We need to really look into the sniffing of the dogs and the boys in the trenches in West Philly and North Philly. You know what I mean? Like, we got to start thinking about them boys too. And what are we going to do with them boys? Right? Like Meek Mill, right? Another enlightened person. I want to talk about Meek Mill is enlightened just like Nipsey Hussle was. And I think you listen to what he went through in life and what he's gone through, and his music is exactly what we're talking about right now. He is an enlightened human being, and he's right there in Philly. You know?
And a lot of people are waking up. I mean, it's almost like we are all, and I want you guys to submit questions in the comments for Frank, and I will put them to him, because I mean, a lot of people are waking up. I mean, you think that video was so, I think, traumatized. We all happen to be home. We all saw it. And I feel like everybody sort of was like so shocked by it that they had to take action.
I mean, look, people might call me weird, but I believe in plans of a higher power. And I believe that a lot of this happened in succession with Trump being in office. I mean, I think God's got us on this. I mean, that's what I said before. This feels so spiritual and so right to the soul, that it's spiritual. And I think that, you know, that's what this was. It was a big wake up call for all of us. Like, we can't be silent, right? We can't be silent. And we can't go home, because every police officer I talk to, every one of them, I say, when's this all going to end, boys? And they always say the same thing: when you all go home. We ain't going home until this changes, until that at least some type of surrender of some type of power, and they become our humble civil servants again. And that's what they are. When civil servants become above their citizens, you have 2.4 million people in prison. That's it. That's the
So you are clearly changed. You've been changed for decades. You now are a warrior fighting on the front lines to end racism. But you were on the other side of it all. As a young man here in South Philly, how did you get recruited to become a skinhead?
It's a very common story, even with brothers that get in the gangs. It's the same story. My parents were drug addicts. I was on welfare as a kid. I was on food stamps. I was embarrassed to go to stores as a kid. We have food stamps when you were a kid, man. That was embarrassing, right? And I had all, and my mom got remarried to a man who didn't like me. I was this stepchild that was around, and he liked to put his hands on me and smack me around a good bit. And about 13, I got beat good enough that I had to move in with my dad up in Southwest Westfield, up in like Woodland Avenue, and that's where I was also raised. So all my Southwest Philly friends that see this, I am going to give you a shout out. I was raised in both neighborhoods, South Philly and Southwest, but I grew up in Southwest with my dad, and that's where I went to Pepper Middle School. And look, Pepper Middle School was nothing nice. I was a brand new kid in the middle of the school year, let alone I was a white boy, let alone I was a punk rock skater kid. I got picked on a little bit. And I was a kid that knew how to fight, and I was an athlete. And I got in a lot of fights that year with a lot of black kids. And it just grew. That summer, I went up to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where my cousin was part of this stuff. And to tell you the truth, it was just these neo-Nazis talking to me that were like, so what's it really like being around black people? Because they really didn't know what it was like, right? They could talk all they want about how much they hate, because they only live around Amish people, right? They live around Amish people, but they hate black people down in the city. And these guys would talk to me, what's it like being around black people, and question me. I remember this girl one time was like, she was all drunk at a party with all these neo-Nazis. She stands above me and she's like, you're going to tell me you take the bus with black people every day? And I'm sure she didn't say black. And, this way she was like, you take the bus with black people every day? And I was like, yo, chick, like I take the L train. And like, I see black people every day, right? But I love that they asked me those questions, because my parents didn't ask me questions. I came home from Pepper Middle School with a black eye. My dad didn't say what happened. He just, And so when these guys asked me about that, someone asked me about my life. And so I joined, and I already had a hatred because of the kids I'm fist fighting. Like, I shouldn't hate my parents because they're beating me. They beat me more than the black kids did. But
So this was like you finding family in a sense.
Survival.
Mm-hmm.
I'm survival. My parents left me to fend for myself, and I wanted to believe this. I was a fearful, hurt 14-year-old boy that was more like a 7-year-old kid who loved when people feared me, because I was an egomaniac with no self-esteem who had been broken.
Yeah.
I've been broken as a child. So, I had to fix those things. So, but that when people would fear me, it was because I feared everything. I feared my home. I feared my parents. I feared my school. I feared if I was going to have enough food to eat.
Yeah.
So when people fear, and I like that. And then they told me, I went and I joined religiously. I joined up in the Pottstown, Pennsylvania area, where I would go to Bible studies and shoot guns and read the Bible, and everything I'm doing is being a proud Aryan Christian soldier. Now I went from a Catholic boy in South Philly to now a Christian soldier going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, which is America.
So you were kind of like, you were at the young formative time of your life, and you're being told that you are better because
superior.
Yeah.
Superior. That's what we are superior. That's what we are told. And I talked about this on your show earlier. Look, how now I think about it, right? Back then I truly believed everything I believed, for that 7 years I was in the movement. But look, the thought process of that, because of the color of my skin, I'm more superior than you, is the most idiotic thought process in the world right now. If I thought about it, like you think about it, that's an idiotic thought process, right? But it's also the most laziest, because I did nothing to achieve this skin. My parents just happen to have the same color of skin, right? So I get to join a group that I'm superior, even though I did nothing. I go out, get a job. I didn't get a degree. I didn't do betterment of the planet. I just have better skin than somebody. Are you kidding me? Like, how idiotic is that thought process?
And so then you got to a point, and I do want to, there are some questions. Thank you guys. I'm going to put your questions to Frank in just a moment. I appreciate all you guys, Keon, Rhonda, Nicole, everybody who's tuning in. What made you say, you know what? Because there has to be a moment. If you believe in your heart, if you believe that you are superior because of the color of your skin, if you believe that someone is inferior or that they have they're not as smart, or all these different negative stereotypes, what makes you say I was wrong?
Okay.
And that we are all equal? What makes you shift and then become a warrior like yourself at Black Lives Matter?
That's right. I mean, yes. I mean, whenever you say, well, even that we have to question that statement, Black Lives Matter, is so horribly disgusting that we even have to question that when people say, isn't that? So, all right. So, what changed? All right, as the movie American History X, right? They make this portrayal. I go to prison, or the guy that's like me goes to prison, and I did. I went to prison in Chicago prison system. You know, I was from Philly, and again, I have tattoos all on top of my head. I got a tattoo right up here. It says "Made in Philly," because that's where I always represent it. You know, even though I was a neo-Nazi, I represented. I was from Philly, right? So I was a nut, right? I got in prison, got a big swastika on my neck. I'm well respected. And then I played football in there, and I played basketball with a bunch of dudes, and it brought me back to most of my Philly roots in a way, because my Aryans, my gang in prison, are all bikers from Southern and Central Illinois. They could fix your transmission at 2 years old. I hadn't even driven in a car yet. You know what I mean? I was a city kid, right? I can tell you all about bus, how to get to L, but I don't know how to take, you know? So I didn't relate with them. But when I started playing football with some of the black kids, and I'm good. I mean, I was always good. I played Pop Warner all throughout Philly my whole life, and was always a good wide receiver, and carried that into prison with me. And when I got done playing football, man, you talk about girls with guys, you know, we were young. We were all the young kids in the prison. We just happened to be, I was the only white kid, and I was from Philly. So they thought I was fascinating because of my accent. And they called me Frank White because they thought I was from New York. Even it was amazing. But anyway, I have a life in prison with those guys that made it in my life satisfactory. And when I got out, I still thought I was going to be a neo-Nazi. That was my calling in the world. The brothers in prison were just, you know, it's just a pit stop. But they stuck with me. And I'll tell you though, but later on, I started to change in a couple of my beliefs. And this is right around when O.J. Simpson is on trial, just to give you the time of this all going down. So O.J. Simpson was on trial at the time. And that was my last neo-Nazi meeting, was at the O.J. Simpson car chase. How crazy. I remember that's my last neo-Nazi meeting, was that night. And it was the night that I can come to the conclusion that, you know, Black, Asian, Latino, I can admit we're all equal. I've seen us all down before. I've seen us all in the hood. I just been around, right? But I'm still going to hate the Jews, because if I hate the Jews, it still kept me part of this group, and it kept me with my seniority. And I had no interaction really with any Jewish people.
Picking off different minority groups.
Yeah, because people were proving me wrong.
And I just want you guys to understand, follow along with Frank's story, because you got into this prison and you realized that the people you got along with best happened to be Black people.
Yeah.
But then you realize you couldn't stay a neo-Nazi if you are like having all these Black friends. And then, so you started saying, well, I like these people, but I don't like these people, so I can kind of still stay in it.
I was going neo-Nazi light a little bit, right? So, because that was all my friends. It was all my peoples, right? So it's everything I knew.
Hard letting go of your friends.
Right. And so, but then a Jewish man who, out of Philly, who had an antique dealership, gave me a job doing antique furniture. And he didn't care about my beliefs. He said, I don't care what you believe, just don't break my furniture. And he wound up being this tremendous man in my life. Like, just an amazing man. And one day we were in Cherry Hill, and I broke a piece of furniture, and I was so embarrassed. And I was still a neo-Nazi at the time. I still shaved my head, still wore my boots every day, working for this guy, in the truck with him a lot. And I just said I was so stupid. And this Jewish man came over to me and gripped me up by my neck, and the back of my neck, and said, stop saying you're stupid, you effing idiot. Clean up the mess and let's go. Yeah. And he got in the car and he unloaded about how smart I was. And it was the first time anyone had ever done this to me, ever said, like, you are smart, Frank. Like, he said this to me. I'll never forget. He goes, Frank, dumb people could fake being smart, but smart people can't fake being dumb. No, smart people can fake being dumb, but dumb people can't fake being smart.
Yeah.
And that was it. And I was like, wow. Like, he's like, so people and interaction in my life. And look, since that time, I mean, I dated a girl from Ethiopia. I dated a couple sisters in my life, because I mean, I'm a kind of sisters guy, you know what I mean? I mean, I've been around, you know. I got a son who's not white. I got a son who's not white, and I also am mine, right?
Yeah. And so you've kind of gone the other way. You kind of gone the full other way. And I want to...
Toward humanity. Yes, toward humanity.
And have been out there on the front lines. And so how can more people... And I got to ask this question, because there's a lot of people who probably kind of realize, you know, that what they believe doesn't line up with who they really are. Or they're hanging around people who may believe things that they don't no longer believe. How do you get the courage? Because part of it is you do have to like stand up. We tell people, everybody says, well, what can we do? Showing up and speaking out against racism is tough, especially if all your friends or people you hang with, people you love, maybe have beliefs that skew racist.
Yeah, and you're going to hear it, but you know what, who else? I mean, for people to have to put up with that stuff, because I've lost tons of family members. I'm disowned by so many of my family for my beliefs now. It just too bad. You know what? I want to be part of humanity, and being part of humanity is doing what I'm doing, and I know, right? And again, it's listening to the enlightened people on this planet, and we can get there together. And again, I told you I was a neo-Nazi, and I have so many great black. I mean, I don't even say like I've men in my life who are my mentors, who are not white, who are black, I have men, true men in my life that are mentors to me. And I'm going to tell you again that the black community, even though as a neo-Nazi, has been one of the most forgiving communities I've ever come across. And they're not even be forgiving, but to also know that they are the most emulated and imitated culture lived. I mean, people want to live and look like the black Americans, right? Even though they've been so oppressed. Like, how amazing are these people? And we're going to keep holding them down. Like, let's get them up so we can get to enlightenment together, right? You know what I mean? That's what it's about. So that's where I am with this, That's my beliefs of where I am today. I don't know what anyone else believes about anything. I know that my true beliefs go on to my children and the people around me.
Yeah,
and they know who I am.
And I give it to you, Frank. I mean, because you're getting tear gassed, you're getting arrested doing this. And that's not, I mean, the level of empathy you must have at this point to go from there 30 years ago to grow into a man who is now like fighting for justice, and then educating other people. What do you think the biggest, tip you can give? Because there's a lot of people on the fence right now. There's a lot of people shifting right now. Talk to those folks.
There's a lot that goes on. Like, again, I want to go back to because it has to go back to this war on drugs, because see, white people feel comfortable going in the black community doing hand-to-hand drug deals, right? That's just the way it is, because they're not comfortable doing it in front of their grandma and their little children up in their neighborhoods, but they feel okay doing it in front of their grandmas and in front of their little children. And that's where I'm talking about the brothers in the trenches we need for that part of the criminalization of all that to end, so that they don't have these shady white dudes always coming through the hood, right? So white people have to start doing our part and notice that we're picking that neighborhood apart ourselves by sending our people down there to go do these hand-to-hand drug deals in front of elderly women who just are walking from the store, who just want to live a peaceful life. And we're now partaking in that by doing the hand-to-hand. And just so people know, I'm clean and sober. The war on drugs I have no skin in that game, except for I just don't want people pulled out of their cars anymore. I don't want people's doors kicked in anymore with guns because they want to search for, and it'll also make the police officers' job safer if they know that when they're pulling someone over, we're not worried about them searching a car. A guy with half a pound of weed isn't going to think about shooting it out at the cops. He don't want to go back to jail, right? Yeah. And then, again, the police are not searching the people who started the epidemic of OxyContin. They're not doing that to them. And they've killed millions.
Yeah. And that's part of what I think people are marching for, to argue that there are these disparities. There is this injustice, and people are fighting for it right now. So I got to ask this question from Meredith Edlow. She says, were there adults around recruiting when people were bringing you into life? How do kids get convinced to come into a life of like being a neo-Nazi? How are they recruiting?
It first starts off with just the camaraderie of you with other fellows, maybe around your age. But then, yes, quickly, because I'll tell you, I grew up with, you heard racist jokes. I mean, in every neighborhood, you hear the jokes about the other kids, right? But I remember people would always say, like, if they came back from the store and they didn't get the right change, like, oh, Johnny Jewed me, right? Johnny tried to Jew me today. I heard that joke. I heard it all the time when I was a kid. And I used to hear people laugh. I never got that joke as a kid. And I like knowing jokes. So I'd ask my uncle, like, why does everyone laugh when you say, don't Jew me, or Johnny tried to Jew me? And he tried to explain it to me. He said, Frank, the Jews are notorious for money. And you know what, Frank, you'll get it when you're older. You'll get the joke when you're older. When I was at my first neo-Nazi meeting, These older guys were up there talking about how the Jews are secretly siphoning money from the Federal Reserve to start World War III. And in that time, as a 14-year-old, I got the joke.
Yeah.
I must be older.
So there's all these conspiracy, part of what the neo-Nazi groups that recruit young people, they're feeding them conspiracy theories and putting fearful thoughts in their minds.
All fear. It's all fear. All fear. That's racism is just fear. Fear you're going to lose what's yours. I mean, again, the fear is why, listen, so we had white flight in the 80s where everyone from the cities were white, ran to the suburbs, white flight. And that produced children who now those children grew up in the suburban neighborhoods, went to high school, were maybe played sports against the black kids down in the hood, whatever, but always scared. They had let's be real here. They had a fear of the neighbor. They fear the hood. They fear North Philly, right? So now they get older, they join the military, go off to war, come home, become a Philly cop who's over there patrolling Fallujah. Now he still has that fear of the black neighborhood. Now we tell him, go patrol that neighborhood.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what makes that man not take his knee off the neck.
And we're trying to deal with that right now. And I will say there's talk about police reforms. There's so much talk right now. Do you think
power's got to be the drug war? Got to stick with that. Power has got to be that taken away.
Do you think, and we're about to wrap up our interview in just a couple of minutes, but do you think any of this change that it's currently being discussed would have happened had things not gone from peace to riots?
No justice, no peace. Come on. You can do sit-ins all you want for so long. And I did not partake in anything that was nothing like that. My son was with me. I have to represent that I have God in my life. I have a higher power in my life that does not allow me to do that, right? So, but I get it. And I think I think that makes other people get it when the windows start getting smashed in, right? Just like we get it when their doors get kicked in on a damn drug warrant on a nurse's home and gets shot and killed, or an 88-year-old woman in Chicago who gets windows kicked in and they start shooting in her windows because that's what we're talking about. Yeah, that's real.
Yeah, and I want to say, Terrell says, Frank, you ooze sincerely, bro. He says that to you. Rhonda says, self-love and pride. First, people who descend from slaves in this country were taught to be scared. Dare I say, deathly afraid to love themselves. So a lot of fear here. Terrell also says, keep it real, Frank, was South Philly racist? Money was green all over the city, though. That's
You dealt with whoever you had to deal with, right?
He definitely did. And then Delilah says racism is fear. So they all are rooting for you here. And I want to make sure I put up here, Frank's book is called Autobiography of Recovering Skinhead. It's featured in other books as well. His story is also featured in film. And I want you guys to follow Frank on Twitter because he's out here. You out here.
I got you, sis. I got your back, sis. I got you.
You got me. You out here. And I just want to say thank you for your work, and trying to on yourself first. And then your work in the community. And tell us the name of your nonprofit, because I know you work teaching kids hockey.
Yeah, well, the hockey is, I'm a part of a group called Life After Hate, which is all former people like myself who help others get out with empathy and compassion. So look up Life After Hate. It's a great organization. And in fact, Donald Trump, how crazy is this? When Donald Trump got elected, he took $400,000 of our grant money away because he wanted all money to go towards Islamic extremist terrorism. It's a story in Washington Post. And Kaepernick gave us the $400,000 out of his money.
Wow.
Yeah. So straight up, Colin Kaepernick came, he's real. He's an enlightened human being like Meeink. Meeink and him are going to lead us through this. I'm telling you, there's two people right there going to lead us through this.
Well, Frank, thank you so much for taking your time to be on Real Talk with Cherri. And you can also hear Frank on the latest past episode of Flashpoint. The podcast is out. You can check it out at kywnewsradio.com/flashpoint. Frank's featured there too. He's talking about this revolution that's happening right in front of us.
Enlightenment.
And why having this coalition of all kinds of people working together is a change that really needs to happen. So thank you, Frank.
Got it. And next is the private prison industry. We're going after them next. Get the cops out of the way, and we're going to private prisons next. We got this. We got this.
Thank you so much, Frank. And you
All
have
right,
a
girl.
wonderful evening, all right? We'll stay in touch. Bye.
Bye.
You guys, that was Frank Meeink. I hope you check him out on Twitter. His name is spelled on the bottom. Get in touch with him on Twitter. He's on the front lines, like I said, Skinhead now on the front lines of the Black Lives Matter movement. So I'm really excited because our next guest is on the front lines in her own way. She is the owner of Harriett's Bookstore. It's on Girard Avenue in Fishtown. Y'all, Fishtown has been in the news for some crazy, but she has turned it around, activating people through education. And so I want to invite Janine Cook onto Real Talk with Cherri. Janine, how you doing?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
There you go. There you go.
How you doing, sis?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good.
I want to first say thank you. Thank you for coming down to the shop. Thank you for purchasing and supporting in that photo that a lot of folks shared, and it ended up being really helpful for us in a lot of ways. So thank you so much.
My absolute pleasure. And she's talking about a photo, y'all, because Harriett had a sidewalk sale. And my friend Aaron was like, oh, we should go down there. So we went down. They had books out there, all kinds of stuff. So we bought a couple things just to support during the pandemic. So shout out to you for being innovative.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have a choice, right? Creativity is our ally, you know? And so, I mean, and then folks like you who come down and make sure it's worth it, you know? Mm-hmm. Thank you.
So for people who don't know you, tell us where the store is located and why you decided to start a store, number one, in Fishtown.
Yeah, so Harriett's Bookshop is located in the Fishtown section of Philadelphia, which means a whole lot to a whole lot of different people. And the truth is, it was the only place that said yes. I went to a number of places trying to, pitch an idea that a lot of people thought didn't make a lot of sense. What are you talking about a bookshop that celebrates women? What are you talking about a bookshop that celebrates women authors and artists and activists? Like, what? That's not going to work. And a lot of people gave me that feedback, which was clearly not true. But this particular woman allowed me to do it, and it just happened to be in Fishtown. And I'm so thankful that I wasn't afraid of the neighborhood, because there's nothing to be afraid of. We're going to do what we're going to do wherever we are.
Yeah, that's true. And it's like a really cute location.
Yeah.
A lot going on down there. I don't think I probably would have specifically gone down there if you weren't there. So then wandering around, you probably bring people down there. That probably, you bring all kinds of people, and then you being there attracts all different kinds of folks.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what? When I first moved to Philly, I came here when I was 17. I was told, you could go to a lot of places. You could go up 26th and Diamond. You could go up, but do not go, whatever you do, don't go down to Fishtown. There's people that jump out of their cars with bats and they chase Black people. So don't be down there. And it's just, I think that it's no coincidence that that's where I ended up.
Wow. And speaking of bats, that's kind of what happened during the middle of these protests. What did you see? What was it like that being for you, a Black-owned bookstore, Black woman, when you see all of this crazy, what we were seeing on the news?
Yeah, I mean, I think that what we saw on the news, I've had my fair share of interesting experiences down in Fishtown. When I first opened, we did a soft launch in January before we opened on the 1st. And a guy came running in there. Oh, excuse me, I don't like this logo. And I was just like, excuse me, who are you? And he was like, I mean, I don't understand why you have the audacity to have this logo up. And I said, well, do you know who actually had the most audacity? Harriet Tubman, who actually worked for this country in the Army, who served you and your peoples, who was a spy and a nurse and did everything, a little bit of everything for this whole place, and was never compensated. Do you know that? And he was like, exactly, right. And so I'm going to actually buy that Harriett book. I know you are, because you don't have the education to understand why I'm here and what we stand for.
And is that why? Because Janine, I read that you give out free books about Black leaders to the protesters. Is that why you do that?
It's exactly why, right? We have to have a foundational knowledge of what it is that we're standing on and standing for. You know, our ancestors laid a lot of this foundation already, right? The blueprint, a lot of this has been laid. Harriet Tubman been talking about emancipation and liberty and freedom. You know, Malcolm X, that's the 2 books that we started with. It's expanded thanks to all of the people that have supported the idea and the effort. But Malcolm X been told us how to do this work, right? And I think it's just a matter of like, listen, let's open up these books, Sankofa style. Let's go back and get what we already was given and use that. And so that's the idea.
Yeah. And so you've given out, you said you given out the books, Autobiography of Malcolm X. What else have you given out?
So we did Autobiography of Malcolm X and the Autobiography of Harriet Tubman. And then folks were like, yo, you know, we were out in front of the bookstore when they did their protest down in Fishtown. They did something that I gave some feedback to. But we had, you know, hood feminism. We had, you know, those are the 3 that we've kind of worked with for now. We had emergent strategies. Somebody gave us some donations to get more emergent strategies. And this book is all about organizing. And another book called The Organizing Skills Guide. And I know I'm like spitting books and spitting titles, but we have them on, you know, all over the place if you go on my social media. And the Organizing Skills Guide connects up with the new Jim Crow, which, you know, we saw highlighted in Ava DuVernay's documentary. And so, you know, thinking about, okay, yes, we want to do this work, we want to protest. There's a million billion different ways to protest, right? There's a million billion different ways. And the creativity is what's going to shake up your enemy a little bit, right? Because I think that your enemy, in a lot of ways, they've seen us do certain things a lot of ways in the same way a lot of times. And so they're prepared for that strategy. And so we move up, we move around, we shake the strategy up a little bit.
Yeah, and that's what's been happening lately because people, it was peaceful protests for the most part, but there was, it did get rowdy. And I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Frank Meeink. We had him on here. Do you think we're talking about police reforms now? Minneapolis is talking about dismantling their police department.
Yep.
Heads blowing off. Okay. We got the Frank Rizzo statue, which is just symbolic. And I mean,
yeah, you know my statement: substance over symbolism, substance over symbolism. And you will take your little symbolism as well. But there's also some actual things that are going to get changed around here.
And my question for you, Janine, is: do you think this all would have happened if everybody had been peaceful?
No, not at all. Not at all. No, I think that we've been peaceful. And I think that that's one of the reasons that we give out the copy of Malcolm X's book, because it's to be clear that, yes, there are consequences for your actions. And I'm not going to just stand by and just continue to have literally your foot on my neck. Nope, just can't do it.
Yeah. And first, I didn't even ask you this. Is your store okay after this?
Our store is great. Our store is great. I think that, just as many people who were with the bats and the profanities and all of that stuff, there were just as many people who came out and stood in front of Harriet's and protected Harriet's. I slept there for 3 nights, just kind of not sure what was going to happen and how things were going to unfold. I didn't board up a thing. I just didn't think that that's what the community, that's what the people would do to Harriet's Bookshop. It's just like, it's counterproductive in so many ways to do that way. And people didn't.
Yeah. Well, you clearly, I mean, and I didn't even ask you this, but why Harriet? Why name you? Why her? And she's my favorite.
I've come to understand that. I thought that it was a me thing, but it's like really a we thing happening where Harriet's she's been whispering in a lot of ears for a long time. And I think in just recent history, she's been, I was telling this other woman, I said, she's been whispering in my ear, whispering. And just recently she started yelling like, girl, you better get to work, and that work has manifested in what you see here.
Yeah.
There's no monument to Harriet. And so when we talk about symbols and pulling down Rizzo, I believe that Harriet's Bookshop becomes the monument for Harriet. And I'm gonna work on one for Ida, and I'm gonna work on one for Rosa, and I'm gonna work on one for Betty, as long as I'm here to do so. Amen.
And I will tell you, I met like Harriet Tubman's like third cousin.
Oh, wow.
You would have thought like I literally you know what I mean? Tell me where, and she looked like Harriet Tubman. You know what I'm saying? She's like 80-something.
Oh my goodness!
Like a few years. I hope she's still with us, but she lives in Bucks County. So
I will let you know if I ever run into her, because I'm calling on all of it.
teeny tiny lady, or whatever. But they were raising money for a monument on the Delaware River or whatever about that. But I was like starstruck. You know what I'm saying? I was like, oh my God, this is like I'm touching Harriet Tubman, or whatever. But I wasn't.
She lives and breathes like. Think about the fact that this movie comes out. I never even saw the movie. I didn't even know a movie was coming out. Then the play comes out. I don't know if he shouts to Tanty Lorraine Carey, who made that beautiful, beautiful play. All at the same time, Harriet's Bookshop opens. There's another museum opens up over in New Jersey. I said, yeah, she's just clear and making herself known. For sure.
They're talking about putting her on this $20 bill. I don't think it's going to happen.
And I don't even think it matters. Like, I believe we build our own monuments. We build our own, ways to honor the people who came before us.
And so I read about your story about how you opened the bookstore. This has been a lifelong dream for you, but it got derailed for a period of time. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I think like all of us understand, we have these ideas that we tuck into our, it lives down in our gut and we keep tucking them away because it's like, oh, but money, oh, but time, oh, but resources, oh, but, whatever the excuse or reason why we can't make that thing happen that's been calling on us. I tried to do something very similar once before. The building, after my renovations, caught on fire, and it was like, yeah, that's not going to happen. And you know what? When Corona hit, I was just like, is this that thing again? Like, am I really not supposed to do this thing? Like, is it really like, is it my ego? Like, what's the problem, right? Like, we only were open for 6 weeks before Corona said nah. And so it was like, okay, here we go. And so pivot, that's been the name of the game.
And then, but you've been very innovative. Tell us all the things that you've done. Because I got to give it to you, sis, and I want my business owners. I spoke to so many of them and just covering the pandemic. And now we got the looting. I'm so happy that did not impact you. But a lot of them got this double whammy. And but you've been ducking, dodging.
Pivot. Yeah.
Blocking.
Yeah. I think that's maybe because I went to art school. I'm an artist. I'm a writer for real, and I think that the creative gene just has been like I said, creativity is my ally. And so it's been like, okay, how do I, and that's what people have always been creative and innovative and have to work with the weirdest and craziest situations and make something beautiful and powerful out of it. So I don't think that's anything new to me and to the world, right? We've been doing that, and I think that's what it's going to continue to take, because the world is so different now. It's not what it was, and I hope it never becomes what it was, right? I hope it never goes back to normal, right? Because that normal just wasn't working.
Yeah, and so people have been. It seems like people were, because it was like, okay, you're opening right in 2020, and I know you were like 2020. You were getting on my daggone nerves. We started 2020 like, yeah, we about to kick it. Crazy stuff happened. But do you feel like people have sort of like, people kind of see you over there? I feel like people see you.
Listen, people have wrapped their arms around Harriet's Bookshop in a major way. I keep telling, my grandma called me before this, and I kept telling her, I was like, Nana, it's bigger than me. I don't think it has very much to do with me. I think that it's there's a bigger thing at play, and here I stand just having been obedient to something that was calling my name, and I think that there's a lot of folks that are feeling that same, that same pressure, and and making the decision to do something about it.
Yeah. And I think a lot of businesses I think people realize that people are waking up to a lot of things. This pandemic has sort of like pulled the shade on so much.
Yeah.
And part of it is we got to support our businesses.
Yeah.
Show up. And it's telling people of different races, you got to show up for each other. Yeah. We got to show up for our businesses. We got to do all these things.
Yeah, I was asking one of my friends who isn't Black. I was just like, how many times have you ever ordered soul food? Like, have you ever gone to I'm just asking, like, how many? And they were like, and I was like, yeah, that's so strange to me that you've never even thought that was like a necessity or something to think to do. Like, it never even crossed your mind. And so it's just like, and it's small, very small, but just like huge also,
Yeah, because I think Black people, we kind of order from everybody.
Of course.
But you wonder, do people seek out Black-owned businesses the way, like everybody kinds of go to mainstream businesses, but do people seek out Black-owned businesses in the way that
it's a trend? It can't be because like, oh, everybody's doing it now, so I need to be doing it now. Like it needs, like all of this are lifestyle changes for all of us, right? Janine, you need to be up and you need to get to the gym and then you need to get to the bookshop and then you need to do, you have to do more because time requires more of you. This moment requires more from us, right? Like I can't rest on that old me of it's not going to work, right? It's just way too much at risk for us to be doing the things that we were doing before.
Yeah. And so when people were coming by your bookstore, protesting, what compelled you to say, you know what, like I need to teach, we need to educate ourselves? What compelled you to do that?
I think that, I have 2 interns. One is my son. And I think you actually probably met them, right? And they are rising seniors in high school. And as we've been talking about what it means to like rise up, what does this mean? What is that? What is rebellion? What is emancipation? What is, like, these are now common words that we have to kind of discuss, and we really got to think about, it's more than just like what we see on TV. Like, what is it for real? And what do we want it to be? And when I was talking to them and they were making their signs and they were, they were excited that they were going to their first protest. And I was like, so here's something to consider. As opposed to holding up a sign that says you can't breathe, which you can, right? Which you can breathe. And I understand why you might want to hold up that sign, but I also understand the power of words, and, we got to be careful what we're saying out of our mouths. I was like, but what if you were holding up a book? What if you were exposing people to knowledge? Like, why can't you hold this up as opposed to a poster? What's the difference? And we went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And, teenagers, at my neck. And I was just like, yeah. And then by the end of the conversation, they were like, yeah, we do like that idea. It does make sense. And I was like, yeah, y'all didn't have to make me go through 30 minutes back and forth on it. Like, I know it makes sense. And I said, now let's do it. Let's actually be, it's applied science. It ain't just what we read, it's what we actually do. And so we did, and people responded amazingly. People, of course, wanted the literature. I know that because I have a bookstore. I know people read, right? As much as they try to lie and say that people don't read and, hide it in a book because Black people this and Black people that, like, we know those are falsehoods. We know that's, you're a writer. You know that narrative is, not real.
Yeah. And people are, books on racism right now, sis, selling out.
We had to shut down our collection, right? Just so that, because we're a small team. It's me and then these 2 teenagers that, assist. But, I was like, okay, the orders were like, and I had no idea that was going to happen. And, a few weeks ago, I was just thinking like, damn, do we even need a bookstore? Like, is this really going to be relevant? Like, is this going to make it through the pandemic? Like, do you need to look, all of the questions that I think all business owners are asking themselves right now as they move through this time. And so, yeah, just to see the influx of like, and not just the purchasing of books, but just like the love and the, the shares. And I think we gained 20,000 followers. 20,000 followers. You know what I mean? I was just like, 20,000 people are interested in. I'm honored. I'm honored that 20,000 people plus the, who we had before, of course, are thinking about like supporting the work that we're doing. That's huge.
And it's all about time. And it's funny how, God, source, universe, whatever you want to call your creator, your creative spirit, like basically used all of this.
All of it.
For good. This crazy, chaotic period is being used for something amazing. I feel like it is.
Yeah, the quote at the end of all my emails is everything is unfolding in perfect order. And that's exactly what's happening, whether I like what's happening or don't like what's happening, or whether, something is happening that I'm confused about, it's just like, this is what it is.
Yeah. And so what's the vision for you? I know it's crazy right now, but what's the vision that you have?
Yeah, so it's funny because it's like I keep saying I'm waiting for things to settle so I can like really take it all in. At the same time, I'm like, I don't know if things will settle because that hasn't been the move yet. But I know that I definitely, like I said earlier, if we have a Harriet's, I want Ida's is calling my name, having an Ida's, right? And making sure yes, exactly. Making sure
that's one of my favorites.
Exactly. Making sure she gets her due. And then I've been also thinking about, like, so when we started this, people started donating, right? They started donating. And so just recently, today even, I've been thinking about this whole, like, almost like a book scholarship, where if folks are really wanting a book, I really want to service organizers and protesters and folks that want to continue to do this work, but want to do it with depth. They want some undergird to the work that they're doing, as well as whatever else they're adding on to it, right? I want to make sure that people have access to these books. And so I've just been thinking about how can I do it in a way that is still sustainable, right? I've been thinking about this Tubman Institute that's stuck in my head now. I'm like, okay, what am I gonna do with this Tubman Institute, right? And I don't know. You're asking me, so I'm just like, ooh, it's all over. So right now it's kind of all happening. We have copies of Marcus Garvey's book that's coming in. I want to get that out on the streets as people continue to protest. Marcus Garvey laid the blueprint on how to do business, Black business, independence. We already have it. We don't even have to kind of like reinvent the wheel on that. And also Fannie Lou Hamer's autobiography, because again, this is a woman from Mississippi who I just can't even begin. I can't begin to tell you how like powerful she is to me. Somebody who just used their voice and stood up in the face of all of it, right? When Fannie Lou Hamer was testifying before Congress, and they throw the president on with a message so that her message can't get out there. Like, what? You're talking about shifting some stuff. And so these are some of the people who I want to make sure that, there are a lot of folks that maybe haven't had exposure, or they're in early stages, or they just want to remember, they want to go back and reflect on what they've studied in the past. We need to do so.
Yeah. And I want to throw some questions. Somebody, Paulette, thank you for tuning in, Paulette.
Hey, I call her Aunt Paulette, by the way.
Oh, there you go. Do you have any
years and years ago, we did work together and down the bottom.
There you go. Philly is like a community.
Philly. Yeah.
So do you have any bell hooks? I don't know what that means.
Bell hooks, the author, and we do. Like I was saying earlier, though, Paulette, we had to shut the collection down for a few days just so I could catch up. So all we have outside right now, we're doing sidewalk sales with whatever inventory we still had inside the bookshop, and so it's kind of a mishmash of books right now that are out there, and we're waiting for shipments to come in. But yes, bell hooks is definitely in the collection.
I just want to give you some of the love that's been on this feed.
I can see it. I like
honoring the ancestors. Marcus says, loving the sister's energy. Sheldon says, I am feeling this. People be loving you, girl. Charlotte says,
it ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm telling you, it's what goes on around me. I'm telling you, they walk with me. They talk with me. They yell at me.
And Rose says, my granddaughter is a historian and she works with Harriet Tubman's niece, putting a museum together in Buckshop. That's what I was talking about. Her niece, yes, that's her third cousin. That's her niece. If you would like to be in touch, feel free to reach out. I'm telling you, sis, Janine.
100% right now, yes. Right now, Rose, yes.
And if y'all got anything going on, I want to do a story because
we're doing it all together because you made that happen by even just saying it. And Rose, okay, let's do it.
You be like I was.
Email list at harrietbookshop.com because that's how I'm going to be sending out correspondence, direct action. Here's what some volunteers can do. Here's what I might need. And so that's how it's going to flow for me since it's again one person.
And this email, you said email this.
They're going to email. Just go to harrietbookshop.com and you can jump on the updates list. Yeah.
Yes, get on that. Go. I put the website up so y'all can see that. Go check her out to get on the email list. And let's go through a few more of these comments. They said Hamer. They writing it down. So if you want to give people a couple of books that they should take a look at right now, because a lot of people are trying to get conscious.
Yeah. And I want to play around with what conscious means and what it means because I noticed that a bunch of people have been buying the same books. And I was like, that's an interesting thing. And it's not problematic, but it also just makes you kind of wonder, like, okay, there's so many books, right? There's so many books about these topics. There's so many people to discover and look into. I was like, I wonder why just these like 4 or 5 or so, prominent. And I don't have the full answer for it yet. We'll see what comes of it. But at the same time, so yes, people have been like buying like crazy How to Be an Anti-Racist. Like they've been buying it like crazy.
Yeah.
And I think that makes a whole bunch of sense. A lot of people have been buying Me and White Supremacy and White Fragility. A lot of people have been buying these books. I also have been feeling very strongly that we need to get into our autobiography bag. And what I mean by that is, like I said before, so all of those autobiography of Harriet Tubman books that I had are gone. I cannot even order them from the distributor. That's how gone they are, which is, it just shows you how little printing was happening, right? They weren't printing enough of our books anyway, so that's just a whole other story. Of course, the autobiography of Malcolm X, but then also just thinking about who speaks to you, right? Like who calls your name, and they probably calling your name for a reason. That's how I see it, and so I would follow that path. Like I would, I'm repping always Zora and Octavia and Alice and Tony, and you know what I mean, all as much as I can, right? Because those that's who walks with me. That's who I want to walk with me. And they do.
Yeah. And I have to say, I'm a huge Octavia Butler fan. And I was so
that are going to be out on the street. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I got a whole collection. when they gave her the Google Doodle, like, I was like, this is a story. You know what I'm saying? I reading about the Google Doodle.
In her time, she thought that people didn't get her. You know what I mean? Like people didn't really. I felt like she wasn't really as well received as now. Of course, it's like, of course you better get with it. Yeah. But and I think that happens sometimes. I think Malcolm is the same. I think that people were looking at Malcolm like, what is this brother talking about? If Malcolm were speaking now, everybody in the world would be like, of course, he's speaking that truth. So sometimes I think we're a little early.
Yeah, and I mean, like there's a lot of our leaders come before their time. I mean, they speak things, they change things. And it takes time to grow. It takes time for us to rise to the occasion. Exactly. So, y'all heard it.
Thank you.
You got it going on, and I know that Harriet's Bookshop is going to be around for a long time because you came into a thunderstorm. The rain is gone. Your roots are going to be so strong, and people already seeing you out there.
Thank you.
Yeah, people already seeing you out there, and I'm gonna put the website. I want to give you a few more people. They said. People put books up, ISIS papers. Look,
here. That's where we do it, right here in the comment section, right? Like, listen, a lot of people, they say that a lot of people stop reading after college or after high school even, and it's just like, without a professor or somebody to tell us to read or what to read, and it's just like, this is the age of self-emancipation. You got to do it yourself. You got to take that walk on your own, and that's how you'll know that you know that you know. But anyway, go ahead.
You gotta educate yourself. Never be a lifelong student. And Rose put her information. I will make sure I will copy it and send it to you so you can reach out to Rose.
That's your story. We're not giving no story.
The niece of Harriet Tubman. Like sis, that is hot.
It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
It's hot. So and then Marcus said, my father was a civil rights activist. He was featured in a couple books. We Will Shoot Back, Armed Resistance, and the Mississippi Freedom Movement.
I have that book in the collection.
Look at that.
Yeah. I have that book in the collection.
By Zora Neale. Yes, I got that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got some, look, people know what they talk about out here.
I mean, and this is how we do it. This is how we do it right here. This is the underground right here, the comment section. Just let's get it.
Yeah, so check out harrietsbookshop.com. Please tell us your address, and I'll just put the address up here.
It's 258 East Girard Avenue. Yep. It's in Girard Avenue. A lot of people go to West Girard and are like, wait, it's not here, and it's East Girard. Yes, I'm in Fishtown. Yes, we're going to be wherever we at and not be in any ways afraid of that. And I ended up in Fishtown, so here we go.
Well, I want to say I wish you so much luck, and I commend you on using this protest as an opportunity to educate people. Because as we heard last week when we had From Privilege to Progress on, I mean, education is number one. Educate yourself, then speak out against racism, and then show up, right? Show up and amplify the voices of those anti-racists around you. So I'm so glad we can amplify your voice because you're doing a lot of really wonderful things. And I'm just so proud of you.
Thank you. Likewise, I see what you do. We couldn't do this if you wasn't doing what you're doing to make sure that we can do this. And I think that it's hand in hand. This is that sisterhood that's going to make all the change happen.
It definitely will. And I want to say thank you so much to Janine A. Cook, owner of Harriett's Bookshop, 258 East Girard Avenue. Will you be having a sidewalk sale? Can people come by this weekend?
Yeah, we have sidewalk sale every day from at least from 12 to 3 until stuff is gone. Stuff has been going real fast right now, so that is what it is. And like I said, get on that mailing list because I am sending out all types like, hey, you want to distribute books today? Hey, you want to, I'm going to just do direct action via email.
Yeah, and if you ever start a Zoom book club or something, because people need to talk about this anti-rape. They don't know who to talk to. They read all this stuff. They got the stuff rolling around.
Yeah, that's what I posted today. It's like, it's one thing to buy the book, and then it's a whole other step to read the book, then a whole other step to analyze and, write about it and discuss it. It's like there are layers to this thing. And I'm not asking everybody to just be all, everyone's like this kind of like scholar or anything like that. But I think that it is about that time for us to take this a little bit more seriously and think about how we're using our minds.
Yeah, because I tell you, it's right now we got to grow. We got to grow as an American people. So thank you, Janine.
Again, I'm here anytime and, enjoy. I got stuff for you. I'm going to put some books to the side for you.
Wonderful. And go check her out, 258 East Girard Avenue, Harriet's Bookshop, open, sidewalk sale every day, 12 to 3 at least. Go buy a book. Go buy a book.
I'm around. I'm working on opening the bookshop collection online back up. So I'm working it out.
Thank you so much, sis, and good luck to you, okay?
Yes. Stay well.
Stay well. Y'all, I enjoyed this show today. That was Janine A. Cook, owner of Harriet's Bookshop. I got the address right here. Please go check her out. I want to say thank you so much to Terrell. Thank you to Russell. Thank you to Paulette. Thank you to everybody who gave questions and comments when we talked to Frank Meeink, Skinhead turned activist for Black Lives Matter. Thank you so much to Janine A. Cook, owner of Harriet's Bookshop. Tomorrow, we're going to have Michael Days. He is the Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion for the Philadelphia Media Network. He's going to be on, and he's going to be talking about that Buildings Matter 2 headline. Y'all saw it. Heads have rolled. People have resigned. How do you move forward after such a cluster blank? How do you do it after a mistake like that? Especially when we're dealing with racially charged issues. Mike is going to be on the live tomorrow. And also, we're going to be talking about the request for new police reforms. We're going to have somebody from City Council on here talking about how they teed it up for Mayor Jim Kenney. That's what we'll be talking about tomorrow on a Real Talk with Cherri. So Real Talk airs every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. We got a wonderful show set up for you on Thursday as well. I started it during this pandemic, but we've expanded it because I feel like there's so much to talk about, and we want to keep people informed. So if you guys could do me a favor, and as an act of love and support, tag a friend and share this video. I'm doing this totally just on a shrimp, guerrilla style, because it's my personal community give back. It's not part of my job, but I do this because I love our community, and I want to make sure that all people have a voice and that we are educating ourselves in this tumultuous time. So please tag a friend and share this video, because I'd love for more people to hear about what Frank had to say, how he was able to transform his racist beliefs into beliefs of equality. I also want more people to hear about Janine Cook and her store, Harriet's Bookshop at 258 East Girard Avenue. So with that, I'm going to say thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate all of your support. I'm Cherri Gregg, and this has been Real Talk with Cherri. I will see you tomorrow at 8 p.m. Again, we'll be talking about Buildings Matter 2, really, and we'll also be talking about new police reforms teed up for Philadelphia Mayor Jim Kenney. Have a wonderful night, and thank you guys so much. I'm so grateful. Bye.